We've heard a lot today about Europe being in a troubled situation, which is definitely true. But I here want to bring a bit more hopeful message. Because Europe has been, and still is, a promise of growth and freedom. And Europe has been and still is delivering on that promise. If we look at all the member states that joined over the past quarter century and see what they have achieved, I name Poland as an example, but Croatia is an excellent example as well. We see that the promise of growth and freedom is still alive. But we should also turn our view around a bit, because Europe as a continent has become very focused on the status quo. And my argument here is that especially those countries that I have just mentioned, the members that joined in the past quarter century, they offer dynamic development where Europe as a whole is too slow. So Europe benefits a lot from these new members that are not that new anymore, because they are growing much more strongly, and they are growing also because of putting technology to good use. So let me briefly run you through why especially Europe is challenged by that lack of technology, how Croatia comes in, and how Croatia might even more leverage that. So, first of all, I wonder that Professor Bofinger didn't show that slide, because it clearly demonstrates how dire the situation in Europe is. We simply lack growth. And that is a phenomenon which has been going on for many, many years already. And now we are starting to feel it. One of the reasons for that is this chart. Our productivity is simply not growing anymore. A little bit, it is growing a little bit, but as compared especially to the US, growth is really slow in productivity. Why is that? This is because we are not putting digital technologies to proper use. We are relying on companies that have been founded 100 years ago, and they are too slow in adopting these digital technologies, at least when compared to the big players in the US. Now, what does that have to do with Croatia? I have already mentioned it. Croatia has been growing much faster than the Eurozone overall. Well, we are talking here of doubling GDP per capita on a real basis, of course. And what is even more important, Croatia has also grown its productivity much faster than the rest of the Eurozone. This means the growth we have been witnessing in Croatia over the past years was not only driven by tourism, but it has also been driven by technological advancement. And this is not just a very macroeconomic diagnosis, but it's also there on the ground. If you look at ICT specialists, for example, this is above average in Croatia. Or if you look how companies here, small and medium-sized companies, how they put digital technology to their best use as compared to other states in the European Union, it's much better here. And this is what's driving this 46%. So this is a really impressive trajectory, and the rest of Europe should actually be learning much more from these countries than the other way around. Of course, Croatia might or should leverage these opportunities in the future. A lot of things we have just heard are already ongoing. Of course, digital education, modern public services, modern services industry helps a lot to further drive productivity gains. The same goes for connections and cooperation in science and tech. Building innovation becomes more and more complex, and for that, as Enrico Letta has said, every country in Europe is a small country, so we have to cooperate, not just within Europe, but also outside of Europe. And finally, administrative reforms. Deregulation is a big, big deal for Europe as a whole, but of course also for countries like Croatia, making things as easy as possible for companies so that they invest here and drive productivity. So overall a message of hope. Europe will continue to fulfill the promise of growth and freedom, but we should stop focusing just on the old part of Europe and much more turn to the excellent growth stories we see in the central and eastern parts of the continent. Thank you.